as a journalist, if I'm trying to get into these clubs and see how they operate, do you think that's an easy thing to do?
I would say no. I would say good luck.
Outlaw motorcycle clubs are built on power, loyalty, and fear. The Hells Angels have spent decades making sure they sit at the top of that world, dominating rivals and controlling territory across continents. But they are not untouchable. Scattered across the US and around the globe are clubs with the size, muscle, and history to challenge them, and in some cases, beat them. These are not casual riders. They are organized, connected, and willing to fight until the last man standing. Law enforcement calls them criminal enterprises. Rivals know them as dangerous enemies. And when they move in on a piece of territory, it often sparks a conflict that leaves a lasting mark on the biker underworld. If there's one club the Hells Angels truly hate, it's the Mongols Motorcycle Club. Founded in Montebello, California in 1969, the Mongols started with a chip on their shoulder. Most of their founders were Latino Vietnam veterans who had been turned away from the Hells Angels. Back then, race still played a big role in who got patched in. So they built their own club, and from day one, they weren't just riding, they were gunning for the Angels' territory. It didn't take long for the rivalry to turn bloody. The Mongols proved early on that they weren't afraid of direct confrontation. In the 1990s and early 2000s, they pushed aggressively into areas the Hells Angels considered their own.
Well, the Hells Angels came to the Mongols and said, you need to take it off. And obviously that didn't go well with the members of the Mongols Motorcycle Club, and they basically told them,
The result? Drive-by shootings, assassinations, and all-out brawls. One of the most infamous moments came in April 2002, the Laughlin River Run in Nevada. Inside Harrah's casino, Mongols and Hells Angels crossed paths. Words turned to shoves, and then came the knives and guns. By the time it was over, 3 bikers were dead. 2 Angels, 1 Mongol, and the casino floor looked like a war zone. Law enforcement has been after the Mongols for decades, and for good reason. The club has been tied to large-scale drug trafficking, weapons dealing, extortion, and violent assaults. In 2008, the ATF launched Operation Black Rain, a massive undercover investigation that led to the arrest of more than 60 members and associates. The charges included murder, racketeering, and narcotics trafficking. Federal prosecutors even tried to strip the club of its trademarked logo, the infamous Mongols patch, arguing that taking their identity would weaken them. The legal battle over that patch still isn't over, and the Mongols still wear it proudly. What makes them such a serious threat to the Hells Angels isn't just the violence, it's the attitude. The Mongols don't back down. They'll roll into enemy turf in broad daylight. They'll start a fight knowing the police are watching. They have no problem escalating a situation until someone gets hurt or worse. Their membership is tightly organized, loyal, and spread across multiple states and countries, making them hard to corner. And here's the part the Angels can't ignore. The Mongols have beaten them before. In the 1980s, after a violent gang war, the Hells Angels were forced to hand over most of Southern California, including key parts of Los Angeles and the Inland Empire, under a truce. The Mongols claimed the territory, kept recruiting, and survived massive federal crackdowns. In the outlaw biker world, that kind of resilience is a weapon all by itself. For the Hells Angels, the Mongols aren't just another rival. They're a grudge that's lasted more than half a century. Every fight between them is personal. Every loss stings. And in a culture built on reputation, the Mongols have proven again and again that they're not just willing to fight the Angels, they're willing to humiliate them.
Right now at noon, FBI agents are searching the Outlaws Motorcycle Club in West Palm Beach.
In July 2008, heavily armed ATF and FBI agents surrounded Outlaws clubhouses in the Chicago area using armored vehicles. It was one of the largest law enforcement crackdowns in the region's history. These raids were part of a long campaign by authorities to disrupt one of the most violent and entrenched outlaw motorcycle clubs in the world. The Outlaws Motorcycle Club, officially known as the American Outlaws Association, AOA, was founded in McCook, Illinois in 1935, making it one of the oldest outlaw biker groups. Long before the Hells Angels existed, the Outlaws were already carving out territory and building a reputation for extreme violence. The rivalry with the Hells Angels began when the Angels tried to push into outlaw-controlled cities in the Midwest. Chicago, Milwaukee, and Detroit quickly became flashpoints. Police reports from the 1970s onward show repeated shootings, firebombings, and brutal assaults tied to these turf wars. In Canada, confrontations between the two groups in the 2000s escalated so much that police compared the streets to a low-level war zone. The Outlaws' criminal operations have included large-scale drug trafficking, contract killings, extortion, and weapon smuggling. Their network stretches across the United States, Canada, Europe, and Australia. Law enforcement agencies have had to form dedicated task forces just to track their activities. Federal operations like Operation 1% in the mid-1980s and Operation Trojan Horse in 2010 targeted outlaw motorcycle clubs, including the Outlaws, with coordinated raids across multiple states. These actions involved undercover agents, dozens of arrests, and the seizure of drugs, firearms, and cash. One of the most intense campaigns against them came with Operation Odar in 2008, specifically in Chicago. SWAT teams and federal agents raided facilities linked to the Outlaws and their associates. During those raids, law enforcement seized firearms, stacks of cash, and even a live grenade. These were not symbolic arrests. Authorities were hitting at the heart of the Outlaws' leadership and infrastructure. What makes the Outlaws a serious threat to the Hells Angels is not just their willingness to use violence, but their deep territorial roots. The Outlaws have held much of the Midwest for decades, operating from fortified clubhouses and supported by alliances with other gangs. Their motto, "God forgives, outlaws don't," is more than a slogan. It reflects their reputation for retaliation. When the Hells Angels challenge them, the Outlaws respond aggressively and often escalate the fight. In the outlaw biker world, territory is everything. The Outlaws have held theirs for generations, and law enforcement's repeated crackdowns have not broken them. They remain organized, armed, and ready for conflict. For the Hells Angels, they are not just another club. They are a powerful, unmovable rival that has been at war with them for decades.
Motorcycle gangs at a gas station. This all happened as thousands of people are in Volusia County to celebrate Bike Week.
If you talk to anyone in the biker world about dangerous clubs, the Warlocks name will come up fast. What makes it interesting is that there are actually two of them. One was founded in Philadelphia in 1967, the other started in Florida that same year. They share no official connection, but both built reputations soaked in violence. The Florida Warlocks, founded by Navy veteran Tom "Grub" Freeland, are the ones that law enforcement has really kept their eyes on. Why? Because for decades, they have been knee-deep in meth trafficking, armed to the teeth, and completely comfortable using lethal force to solve problems. Their story is littered with incidents that would make even other outlaw bikers flinch. These aren't bar brawls. We're talking contract killings, armed robberies, and bloody internal purges. Loyalty is demanded, and disloyalty is punished in the harshest way possible. In 2014, 4 members were convicted of murdering 2 of their own in a dispute over drug profits. It wasn't messy or drawn out. It was execution style. Cold, calculated, and final. That's the kind of reputation the Warlocks carry, one where crossing them can be a death sentence. The Hells Angels have had their own run-ins with the Warlocks, especially in the 1970s and 1980s. Back then, both groups were trying to control the same lucrative drug routes in parts of the eastern United States. Clashes happened, and they weren't subtle. Intelligence reports from that era talk about shootouts, arson attacks, and ambushes. In Florida, the Warlocks made a point of siding with other clubs that were already enemies of the Angels, giving them more leverage in any confrontation. And it's not like the Warlocks have had a free ride. Law enforcement has been trying to smash them for decades. In the late 1990s, a series of raids against the Florida chapter uncovered meth labs, huge stashes of narcotics, and military-grade weapons. Even with those blows, the club kept going. In 2013, Operation Trojan Horse hit the Pennsylvania warlocks hard, with 23 members and associates arrested for drug trafficking and weapons charges. Police even found explosives during those raids. Definitely, this isn't your average biker gang bust. So why are the warlocks such a threat to the Hells Angels? It's not just the guns or the drugs, it's the way they operate. They don't always follow the unwritten rules between big clubs. They're unpredictable, quick to retaliate, and willing to turn small grudges into bloody wars. Their Florida stronghold puts them in a prime position to control drug flow, and their network of allies means they can make trouble far beyond their home turf. For the Angels, a group like this is dangerous because you can't count on them to act rationally. You can't trust them to let things slide. And when law enforcement has been hammering you for decades and you're still standing, that says something. It says you're not just surviving, you're surviving with teeth bared.